Special thanks to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. A few years ago, I created this large round art sculpture light for my space, and I'm so happy with the result. I think it's very beautiful. Today I thought we could expand on this idea further and see if we can create something a bit more interesting, something that will of course add interest to my home, add a bit of sexiness or even playfulness that I think any space can really deserve. So let's see what we can put together using a few materials. Oh, by the way, welcome back to Casa. I'm Jorge. I love all things home decor. Let's get started. So the first thing that I need to do is to cut a large circle. Here I have a 1/2 inch thick piece of plywood. This is a 4x8 sheet cut in half, so I have 2 of these. And one of the things that I'm going to do is to create a custom circle. And there are a few different ways to cut a large circle. Well, a little trick that I learned recently is to essentially use a tape measure, a screw or a nail, and a pen or pencil. And I think this is going to be a perfect way to get the custom size that I want. So the first thing I'll do is sort of figure out the center of the board. It doesn't need to be perfect. So in this case, it's a 4x4 sheet, so about 2 feet. Doesn't need to be perfect, which gives us about that. So now I'll just take my screw and drill it into the center. Overall, I want the diameter of the large circle to be 42 inches. So half of that is going to be what, about 21 inches. So that'll be the radius. So I'll hold it down at 21 inches. Then I'll take the corner here and put it right onto the screw. Then I'll take my pencil or pen and then carefully get a tight grip on the corner here and then just start to draw the circle. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and cut the circle using my little jigsaw here. I want to get a cordless one, but this one will do. It's relatively straightforward. For the screw, I actually went ahead and screwed it to the tabletop a little bit so that as I'm rotating the board here, it doesn't really move around. So I think it's best to just show. So let's go ahead and start cutting. I think jigsaws are one of the easier tools to use. It's basically like using scissors, kind of. I'm following the lines, trying to get a clean cut as possible. Afterwards, I'm doing a thorough sanding on the edges just to make sure that everything is nice and even. Now, I'm going to try my best to explain what I'm doing here, but essentially I'm going to create a 2-tiered light sculpture. I will have a back plate, which will be the larger circle, a middle hoop, which will hold the lighting, and there will be a top plate that will be the smaller circle. And to connect the 3 layers, I'm essentially going to use some of these little tabs that I used. I essentially cut little squares and I'm attaching them via brad nailer and some glue. You can start to see the layers formed here. In terms of mounting this or hanging this on the wall, I'm going to be creating a French cleat hanging system using some scrap piece of wood that I have. Essentially, this right here will be attached to the sculpture, and then this is what's going to be drilled into the wall, and essentially it's going to sort of slide in, but I need to cut the angle, so it'll make more sense once you see it. So let me go ahead and cut this up on the table saw. If you're not familiar with a French cleat, it's essentially 2 hooks that interlock. So here I'm cutting them at an angle. And while I'm at it, I might as well make another light sculpture. This is going to be one that I'll be using for an upcoming makeover project, but it's the same concept. And it needs to be perfect. It needs to be perfect. You know, I've been noticing this pattern where I tell myself, once I finish this, then I'll relax. Once I finish this makeover, once I finish this project and everything looks like the way I want it to be, then I'll feel better. But the truth is, it doesn't necessarily work that way always, because how you feel doesn't magically shift just because your space does. You can have everything styled, everything in place, and still feel overwhelmed or stuck. And I think for me, that's been a reminder that taking care of your environment is one thing, but taking care of your well-being is a whole nother practice. And that's why I wanted to partner with BetterHelp on this video. BetterHelp is an online therapy platform that connects you with licensed therapists, and it's designed to be really flexible and accessible. So you can do your sessions from home on your own schedule and in a way that works for you, whether that's video, phone, or even messaging. And I like that it creates a space for you to actually pause for a second. And I think what stands out is that it removes a lot of the friction around getting started. It's just the process that can feel overwhelming or hard to fit into your routine. With BetterHelp, you get matched with a therapist based on your needs. And if it's not the right fit, you can switch at any time, which makes it feel a lot more approachable and low pressure. And I like that it actually creates a space for you to pause for a second, to check in, to reflect, and understand what's going on instead of just pushing through everything. Because if you're someone who's always focused on the next thing or just trying to get everything just right, having that kind of space can make a big difference over time. Therapy, it can be a great option. So if you've been thinking about trying therapy or just want to be more intentional about your well-being, give it a try. Check it out for yourself and get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/CasaRefine. Yes, that's 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/CasaRefine. Having that kind of space can make a real difference over time. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. Now let's go finish up that wall sculpture. Now I will be plastering these, but before I do that, I need to apply a specialty primer. So I'm going to use an acrylic-based primer here. So I'm going to give it about 2 coats of that. Then apply some plaster. Just to clarify, I'm using a Venetian style plaster that will essentially match the walls that I have. They are lime washed, and I think the beauty of DIYing is you can really customize something to your specific needs. So of course I could easily paint this white and call it a day, but why not add a bit of visual texture, and texture for that matter? I think that little detail is going to make this piece feel more integrated with the wall. So I went ahead and applied 2 coats of primer last night. Now I am ready to apply some plaster. Overall, I want these sculptures to be very minimal. I want the light to do most of the talking. So I'm gonna add some subtle texture and overall keep it that neutral off-white so that it just looks better on the walls. So let's go ahead and apply some sort of Venetian type plaster to really make this feel more special. I am so excited that it's finally getting warm out that I can work outside. In terms of application, I find it best to use a plastic knife. There really is no right or wrong way to do it. It's really about the texture that you want to create. In this case, I want it to be very subtle, so just applying the best that I can. After a few coats and letting it dry, I do a quick sanding. With all this work, we might as well protect the piece, so I'm hitting it with this clear matte wax to give it a topped finish. Now that that's dry, we are ready to install our lighting. For this, I'm opting for some LED strip lights that I ordered online. I will be using 2, one for the front plate and one for the back plate. The reason I'm using 2 is so that I can change the colors if I need to. I think this will open up lots of possibilities and variations. And I do want to say you get what you pay for, because initially I ordered some cheap ones. They were not bright enough and were not performing like I wanted to, so I ended up spending a little bit more for higher quality lights. But with that, our light sculpture is complete. Let's take a look at the possibilities we can do with this piece. It's kind of badass, don't you think? I really love this. This might be one of my favorite art sculptures that I've ever done. I love the fact that I can of course change the colors depending on my mood, the season, all that. I think right now I'm kind of loving this magenta color tone. I think it stands out. I might need to decrease the brightness a bit. It might be overpowering. Maybe we can do a little dance party. Definitely not. Now I'm gonna work on this a little bit further, this idea, and I think I'm gonna sell some of these pieces on my shop. So if you're interested, definitely let me know if you would be interested in something maybe smaller, a large size, maybe just one singular circle rather than the double. It's definitely an idea that I'm gonna keep working on, but definitely subscribe to my newsletter so that you'll get some updates. All right, friends, I think we'll call it good for this DIY video. I want to also thank BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. Be sure to go to betterhelp.com/CasaRefine to get 10% off your first month. Very well then, on to the next project. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.